All right, Mr. Brindle, 2 weeks left of AEP. What to know?
Yes.
Give us the goods. Give us the deets. Give us the 411.
Well, if I'm going to get deep on us today, I think it's important to, before we can figure out where we're going, to figure out where we've been.
Oh.
And so, so far this AEP, right? It's been crazy. I would argue, though, in some ways, it's less crazy than it was last AEP because I think
100%.
I think you've seen less plans coming out in the middle of AEP and suppressing enrollments or pulling commission. Not that you haven't seen it at all, because you have, but I believe you saw more of it last AEP. Would you agree?
Yes. My biggest fear coming into this AEP, obviously we had some of the chaos leading up to the start of AEP. My biggest fear is that it was just going to be this like train coming off the tracks going through AEP, right? That we were going to have a mix of, I really thought I told Christian this several times private. I was like, as long as the train just stays on the tracks, I'm like, as long as we don't get a mix of last year too, where, I kept it like that last week of October. I was like a Marine, a Navy SEAL Marine holding my breath for like the entire last week of October. I'm like, just waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for carriers to be like, all right, here's a new list of non-commissionables. Just plowing us with those non-commissionable plans. But it didn't happen. I think there's maybe a couple here or there that I saw come out, but there was nothing super impactful. Whereas last year, that shoe dropped in the middle of AEP, which despite how chaotic the start was of this year, there's no way I think you could say last year wasn't more chaotic. I really strongly believe that. That was going to be something I was going to talk about too.
Yeah. I mean, for us, right, internally, we've had a great year. We had a great year last year. We're going to have a great year this year. We have had a great year this year. And so I think that's important to understand. Now, for most folks, Thanksgiving week, things slow down a little bit. I mean, for us, we're slammed today, tomorrow. We're not open of course, on Thursday. We're going to have a skeleton crew internally on Friday, but we're very busy this week. But in general, Thanksgiving week is a little bit of a tempered down week compared to the rest of AEP and certainly next week. So that's one thing, right? You have a lot of clients that are going out of town. They have family coming in town. They're prepping for Thanksgiving. When you have a big holiday like Thanksgiving, especially one that involves food, there is prep going on for like days. It's like a 4 or 5 day holiday. And clients oftentimes just don't want to talk. They don't want to meet. They don't want to get together. Not to say all of them, but so things are just a little bit less busy. That being said, the final week of AEP is I feel like the first week of October, the first week of the 15th, and the last week of AEP, the final week of December, are going to be the busiest weeks of any AEP, right? So I would expect next week to be a circus, a floodgate. If you're gotten this far into AEP and you're like, I got through everything, I got everything done I wanted to, think again, because next week is going to every person that you have already taken care of is going to call next week, and you're going to have to redo it all.
What a horrible thing to say. Oh my God. Last app in, everybody. Last app in. Get ready to rewrite everybody.
That client that you spent 2 hours, rewriting her on her plan, she's going to call back in and be like, I saw an ad for Chapter.
I called Chapter and signed up again.
You know what I mean? So like next week is really busy for a multitude of different reasons. It's a great week to get new business if you have the bandwidth to do so, because it's the final week people can make decisions for 1/1 effective dates. Most clients don't know about OEP, right? It's kind of like, you're not allowed to market OEP. Carriers are not allowed to market for OEP. And in turn, most clients don't know about OEP, right? They don't even realize it's a thing. So a lot of clients do think on the MA side specifically that once December 7th passes, they are locked in until next October.
It's over.
Even though that's not the case, you might not necessarily tell them that. You don't have to. They're going to have that perception. And so it creates a lot of urgency for you to be able to push people over the finish line that
Yes.
maybe you've been trying to get done throughout AEP, people you've been following up with, things like that. So it's a great week in terms of that.
God bless OEP, by the way. I just wanted to say that.
I'll never forget when OEP came back, because OEP was a thing before.
That's right. It wasn't a thing for a while. It
went away, came back 6 years ago, something like that.
You're
and
showing
I remember
your age, sweetie. You're showing your age right now.
Your wrinkles are showing. But when it came back, a lot of the old guard and the old timers were like, "Oh no, here we go, AEP twice. Don't need that." And OEP is a great thing.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing for beneficiaries. It's a great thing for agents. My own parents could potentially end up leveraging OEP this year. We talked about that before. So I love that. Another thing that came up yesterday because at Lead Heroes, we're doing tons of these preset appointments for you guys right now. And we're looking at next week. And obviously we're like, how can we jam as many presets out the door as possible for you guys? The 48-hour rule temporarily goes away like magic. CMS says you could do same-day appointment. I'm back. Did I freeze?
Okay. Yes, you did. You did.
Okay.
You froze with your thumbs like this.
Yeah. The 48-hour rule magically goes away for 2 days. December 6th and December 7th. You are able to run appointments either, same day or next day. You don't have to wait 48 hours. So something to definitely take advantage of. We will be taking advantage of that at Lead Heroes for you guys when it comes to setting appointments leading up all the way to Sunday the 7th. So there was a stat Christian and I were trying to figure out before we did this pod about. It was like one of the carriers, some executive at one of the carriers at one point dropped a stat about how much of Medicare's total business gets written after Thanksgiving.
Right.
And I want to say it was something crazy like 38%. That was the number that comes to mind. I don't have the stat to pull up to show you guys, but it was something crazy. And when you think about that, almost half, AEP is from 15th to December 7th. So October 15th to December 7th. So, you've got like 7 weeks, but somehow in the last week, the last 10 days, almost half of it gets written. So that if you haven't had part of the messaging I wanted to get out today with this episode is if you haven't had the best AEP, if you feel like you could have done more, if you feel like, you missed the boat, you haven't. But did you find it? I feel like you're doing research over there.
So I wanted to verify something that I was thinking in my head, but I wanted to make sure I was right before I said it. You mentioned December 6th and 7th, you don't need 48-hour rule. It's actually the final 4 days of AEP.
Whoa, really? Educate
so from
me,
the
Poppy.
3rd on, from the 3rd of December on,
you
do not need a 48-hour wait for your scope of appointments.
That's huge. Guys, Christian just dropped a little knowledge bomb for us right here on the pod today. December 3rd to I thought it was just the last 2 days. December 3rd to the 7th. No 48-hour rule. It's like this. It's like a treaty. It's a cease arms from CMS. They're like, hey, we know this rule is so dumb. we're going to shut it down for 4 days so you guys can do the work you need to do. That's probably a big contributing factor to this stat that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously you're going to be able to write more business if you can get an appointment generated and set and ran the same day. That's going to help a ton. So I really want you guys to leverage this last week. I know a lot of us are burned out. I know a lot of us are like, can this please be over? It's fourth quarter, guys. Time to dig deep. You got 3 minutes left. You're down 6 points. You've got to keep playing the game until that final buzzer.
Yeah. And I've said it from the beginning, AEP is a marathon. It's not a race.
Yeah.
So it's important to pace yourself, like my advice is do everything you can to relax on Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It depends on what some of your schedules are, right? Like maybe you have appointments all lined up Friday, but if you don't, maybe work a half day, like just pace yourself. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And the freshest version of yourself will help you be the most productive next week. Now, some of you have appointments lined up all throughout this week, except for Thanksgiving and all next week. Understood. We do too. But the more you can kind of pace yourself, I think the easier it's going to be, as you go. So yeah, I think next week is really going to be a crazy week. It's the floodgates will open up, and everybody's going to want to know about Chapter, Dr. Oz and Montel, anything you can possibly think of that you don't want them to call about, they probably will. But in some ways that can be a good thing. It might be new clients that are calling about those things.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note too, if you're a newer agent and you're watching or listening to this, if you're not aware of how this works, if someone signed up for a plan and they want a different plan, and you're talking to them, they didn't know about the plan that you're presenting to them, they want to switch plans, it's the last application submitted that gets issued as their policy. So last app in, chances are that last week of AEP, that first week of December, there's probably going to be a lot of rewrites that happen, right? Where people are being rewritten. I know at the call center level, from having those conversations with some of our partners, there's a lot that goes on, to the point where the stats that I've been told, if they write an app the first week of AEP, like that October 15th, I was told that like the statistical likelihood of that app being rewritten by the end, it's like 70 or 80%. So I think if you're a field agent, that number is a little different, but if you're selling over the phone or if you're selling from a call center, it's a pretty high possibility. So do everything you can to be the agent of record on that last app. And I think that's something important for you guys to know.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. I think the other thing to be thinking about is, for those of you, I don't think we were going to talk about this, but maybe we talk about it a little bit, just to finish up the show, is for those of you that do ACA.
Oh, here we go. Seatbelts, everybody.
I don't know how much validity there is to this, but I've heard a lot of whispers that subsidies will get extended. I heard that like there was a big meeting with the president yesterday about it. And then, I saw some agents in the Facebook group when this was being talked about. They're like, so we're going to have to go back and redo all those people. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they might extend
the
AEP.
biggest thing. Well, so from a political strategy standpoint, if you want to put on your Washington, D.C. senator hat for a second here, and pretend you're playing the game at the top level with these boys and girls. It's probably going to be political suicide at the midterms next year if these don't get extended, right? So if you have 12 months where the uninsured for healthcare in America is at the highest it's ever been, that's probably something that's going to show up at the voting booth in next November. So my guess is that that's what's being discussed, and so they're probably like, "Hey, President Trump, we need to extend these past midterms. Like, we can axe these if you want, but we got to get past midterms." So that was as soon as I heard and read that this rumor was going on. You also have the whole thing about the shutdown, right? We talked about this on the last episode after the government shutdown ended. The weird part is that the Democrats ended it on like this handshake deal with no guarantees, no promises that there was going to be any more talk about subsidies. But it sounds like there's a chance that subsidies might get extended 2 years. So I would imagine if that does happen, we're going to, I don't know if it'll just be a month. Is it possible they extend it like through March? Like how, I don't know what do you do, because it's going to be pure chaos in the under 65 market if those subsidies all of a sudden, it's like December 10th. Oh, extended. And then like all these people there's people who paid premiums already for next year. Like it's going to be chaos.
Yeah. That it's, I think it's more likely that they extend it through December 31st than going all the way to March, which is in a way is probably worse.
January.
Probably
got to go
worse.
through January, I would imagine. I can't believe they only extended 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's possible that it goes longer. But, I remember in the past with AEP, I think before I even got in, there was years where it was extended. AEP didn't go to December 7th always. In the past, it went to December 31st. I remember being at home at Christmas when I was a kid one time, and my dad saying someone was calling a client on Christmas. And I'm like,
AP was ruining Christmas, so they backed it down to the 7th. They're like, nope.
I'm like, Dad, it's Christmas. And he's like, the damn government or something like that. I'm like, it's time to open presents.
Dad, don't sell that Medicare policy.
Why are you talking to that Medicare client? Why?
Don't you like having presents, son?
Where do you think the presents come from?
They come from the government.
So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, it would be a lot easier to swallow if I went till March 31st, but at the same time, I would hate for it to be open that long. But then maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. I don't know.
With more time, I think it'll be easier to fix.
Yeah.
March 31st would be. I feel like it's got to go till end of January at least if they're going to do something about this. I mean, that's just going to be chaos for the ACA market. Going to be really interesting. What do you guess timeline is? If you had to guess that we'll finally hear it, you think by the end of this month? You think we'll know something about these subsidies?
I think I'd like to say yes, but it wouldn't surprise me if we get all the way up to almost December 15th, the end of OEP for ACA, and then we find out. And they're like, extended! Like the last 3 or 4 days. That wouldn't shock me.
That's going to be crazy. My heart goes out to those of you who've really built a large business in the ACA market, because the roller coaster that this year has been is tough for sure. But yeah, I think, again, from a political strategy standpoint, I think they probably have to. I bet they ran the numbers and they were probably like, hey, this is what the polling looks like. based on the healthcare situation. So because what I'm hearing is a 2-year extension. So to me, 2 years means we are going to get this past midterms, and then the next presidential election, it'll be back up on the chopping block, and that'll be a big, healthcare reform is that gets ran on every presidential election pretty much. They have a strong opinion. I'm going to do this. We're going to do this.
So you're saying President Cruz will promise to do something?
President Cruz. Oh man.
No, that won't happen.
President AOC. Visceral reaction for the audio listeners. Visceral reaction from Christian on that.
President Vance and VP Rubio. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
President Vance and VP Erica Kirk. That's what it's looking like, dude.
Oh my goodness. President Tucker. No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No way.
I wouldn't do it if I was Tucker, making too much money. Well, I think it's probably a good time to move into final thoughts on today's episode.
Yes.
Guys, for me, the final 2 weeks of AEP, you feel burnt out. It's normal. I think pacing yourself, taking it one day at a time, and understanding that you're almost there. Like, you are almost there. At the same time, if you're in growth mode, understanding that the sun shines right now. You got to take it in, sun rays. You just go out and you just go, and just take it in. Just like me in Miami, For those of you that don't know that joke, that's okay. You don't need to know. And then, I think get through AEP. And then for those of you doing ACA, I'm sure you're doing a mixture of both right now. But then worry a little bit more about the ACA OEP people and kind of go from there. It's my final thoughts. And of course, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're not planning on doing a show before then, so I hope you guys eat a lot of food. You gain a few pounds, and you go into the final remaining week or so feeling replenished.
Yeah, it's a good little seventh inning stretch. I think that's probably a better analogy than halftime. It's more of a seventh inning stretch. I think taking Thursday and resting, eating, spending time with your loved ones, I think that's a great way of trying to recharge the battery a little bit, because we are coming into the final lap of the race. And like Christian said, I mean, it really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. But this last week's the most valuable week, without a question, especially with the 48-hour rule going away, December 7th, December 3rd to the 7th. You don't have to wait 48 hours to run these appointments. So that's big. Guys, my final thoughts, again, to kind of circle back on this whole episode. If you haven't had the AEP that you wanted, if you feel like you could have written more apps, if you feel like you're worried about your retention with your existing clients, if whatever you're feeling right now, know that it can get better, because it's not over yet. It's not over yet. There is still time to have your best AEP ever. So, do what you need to do. If you need marketing help, reach out to Lead Heroes. We might be able to still get you some presets before the end of AEP. If you need retention help, reach out to Hire Heroes. We have a virtual assistant potentially that we could get placed with you before the end of AEP, and we can help you retain those clients. Like, whatever you need to do, find those resources and attack and make the most of what's left. Because crazy part is, I'm looking at the calendar right now. Not only is AP just about over, but the year's almost over. You know, we have 5 weeks left until 2026, which is crazy to me how fast this year went. So I love you guys. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we are planning on doing our next episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast Monday the 1st. So that is the next time we will be live here in the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. And again, get your summit tickets now. Don't wait. They're discounted. Do it.
Appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, give a 5-star review, whatever the platform of your choice will allow you to do. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Happy Thanksgiving again. Thanks, everybody.